Evening and good morning to everyone. This is SAP Ariba demo session, and over to you, Manoj. We can start with the presentation now. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Nikita, for the introduction. Let us start our session, guys, without any waiting. But before we start, a few things we need to understand with ourselves. So, the first and foremost thing is like we have been doing this training for the last almost 5 years. From 2017, we have done this training, and we have trained somewhere around 2,800 plus participants till now, specifically in Ariba. And the major thing, if you look at our training, what we basically want to do is basically impart you the knowledge on Ariba, which will help you to work in the project. It's very, very different from the normal training which you have seen in SAP over there. Why? Because if you go to the market, you will find a lot of trainers who is basically giving you theoretical knowledge. Theoretical knowledge sounds good. Everybody likes it because it has a structure. Not in our case, because the thing which I have noticed till now is basically if you are having theoretical knowledge, when you go to a project, what happens is like you are faced with real business issues. And with the real business issues, what happens is like you have to resolve those issues. So it's not just the theoretical knowledge, it's practical knowledge and the application of practical knowledge. These are the two major things which is required in a Ariba project. And at the end of the day, all of you have to work in a Ariba project to earn the salary. Theoretical knowledge is good to show, but it is of no value. Now, another thing which I have noticed is like many of the participants, they're basically coming from the background of MM or SRM. Myself, I have worked in SRM and then I migrated to Ariba. So I can understand the issues firsthand. So what happens is like when you move or when you work in on-premise solution of SAP, you will have a certain mindset. And when you come to Ariba, it will almost be same. But Ariba is not a on-premise solution. It's a cloud solution. And specifically, please remember this thing because whenever I meet some Ariba consultant, they always say Ariba is a SAP product. Wrong. Ariba was formed in 1996. It was an on-premise solution. In 2010, they launched their cloud solution. Okay, so please remember that 1996, Ariba used to sell on-premise solution. 2010, not 20, sorry, 2010. That is where when Ariba switched from on-premise to on cloud. Very good. SAP acquired Ariba when? In September 2012. Now, I think all of you can do the math over here. What is the math? That if the product was launched in 2010, that means it must have been developed from 2007, 2008 onwards. SAP bought out Ariba in September 2012. That means this product of Ariba, which we are seeing right now, its base structure was done by Ariba when it was a non-SAP company. So if you are having a mindset that, oh, the background, the SRM background, same background of Ariba, wrong. Yes, on a functional process, if you say Manoj, procurement is ho raha hai na, only procurement is happening. Yes, I will say yes on a high level procurement, but we have to remember the way of configuration, way of integration will be totally different. So that means if you are to become a good SAP Ariba consultant, what does it mean? It means you have to unlearn MM and SRM. And trust me, guys, I also made the mistake. When I moved from SRM to Ariba, I was thinking it is the same. I was proven wrong within one project only, a first project. So these are the things which basically motivated us, so that the wrong which I did, our participant, actually none of you are trainees over here. You are basically mentorees. I am mentoring you so that you should not do these mistakes. So this session on Ariba is nothing but my experience in working in the different Ariba project for the last 8 years. That's it. Nothing else. So that is why our sessions are very different. Okay, so this is the introduction, and I think all of you guys know me. I'm Manoj. I'm having almost 18 years of experience in SAP, and for the last 8 years, I've been working in Ariba. Apart from Ariba, I also work on Fieldglass because Ariba and Fieldglass are closely related to each other. And before that, I was working in SRM, and I started my career in SAP only. Yeah, for a long time, I did work on SRM, and when I migrated to Ariba, faced some issues with the mindset, and then understood that what is required so that we can have a successful project on Ariba. What are the different things? So that is why the first and foremost thing which you can see is a blank notepad which I have opened. Huh? Why? Because see, we are talking about practical knowledge. We are not talking about theoretical knowledge. Okay. Now, few things. Remember, this will not be valid just for today's session. That means not only for demo session, but for every session. Every session. That is, first I will show you the content. Okay, these are the things which I will cover. Within that time, if you're having any queries, please write it down in some pen and paper. After that, we will have the question answer session. During that question answer session, you ask me your queries. Otherwise, what will happen? It will become like a bazaar. Exactly. It will become like a bazaar. So we should not do it like that. That's it. Okay. So that is the only rule which we follow. Otherwise, it will become like a bazaar which we don't want. Okay. That's it. Nothing else. Okay. Very good. So enough of this talking and all those things. Let's go into Ariba. Excuse me. Now, what is a SAP Ariba solution? When I talk about SAP Ariba solution, what happens is like majority of the uh, what you can say, majority of the consultant, what they always say to me that it's a procurement solution, or we can do advanced procurement, collaboration with the supplier. So big terms. Why not simplify it? So procurement focused software. Now, why majority of the client is moving from MM or SRM to that of Ariba? Why they're moving their procurement? Because because based on cloud. So majority of the Ariba functional consultant, if I ask them that why their client is moving from MM or SRM to that of Ariba, they will say good user interface, advanced technology, okay, these things, etc. Then I will immediately say wrong. You go to your client, have a talk with them. You will easily understand what's the motivation behind moving from MM or SRM to that of Ariba. Excuse me. So the first motivation is SRM is going to be made obsolete by 2025. After that, there is no support from SAP. It's a big deal. Remember, for a client, it's a big deal. Why? Because they will not have any support. Just like, for example, you buy a laptop. Think about you are buying a laptop. It's a costly laptop. $3,000 you have paid. Now, after 1 year, its warranty is getting over. What you will do? You will say, no, I will pay another 200K, $200, or maybe $300, or maybe even $500, just to extend my warranty from 1 year to that of 3 years. Why? Because you have bought a expensive product and you're going to use it extensively. So support must be provided. Something happens, there will be issues. So the same thing also for the client. So if they are not getting support from SAP, they will try to basically replace that product. Second thing, cost. Now the cost is basically on-premise system means what? Client needs to have a software, a server. Huge cost, not only for buying it but also for maintaining it. Why? Because it need electricity, it will need a space, secured space. AC must be there, dust particle must not be there. It will need a network manager, network administrator who will look after it. Periodically it will need upgradation of RAM and other things. All of these things are very very costly to the client. They will switch to Ariba. Now Ariba is on cloud solution just like Gmail. For Gmail, how will you access it? Do you need any software to be installed? No. Just you need an internet connection, open up a browser, give the URL, that's it. Give the user ID password. You will be using the services. Same thing. So for Ariba, client does not need to maintain any application server. Neither they have to install any application within their application server. So that means that server buying cost and upkeep cost and maintenance cost, zero, which is a huge cost. That is why majority of the client are moving from or SRM to that of Ariba. Even though they are having S4, what they are doing? Oh, invoice reconciliation and payment. That's it. That's the major thing. That's the main thing. Now, some of you guys will basically tell me that Manoj, ऐसा नहीं होता है. It's not like that. There are certain other things. Okay, what are the other things? Like we will do the commerce automation from S4 side, and the normal other indirect procurement we will do it with respect to Ariba. Again, yes, that was the rule in 2016, 2015. Not now. Ariba has changed drastically from 2020 onwards. Exactly. So you should be very, very focused on this thing. Okay. So in short, why majority of the client is moving from or SRM to that of Ariba? Because of the cost and the support. Just like, for example, will you buy a 5-year-old laptop? Nobody will buy it. Why? Because first and foremost thing, that technology is obsolete. You will not get a spare part for that laptop if it gets any issue. Second thing is that you will not get any support. Even though if somebody tries to give you a MacBook which is 4 years old, you will not buy it. You will buy either this year version or the previous year. Maximum is the previous year, 2021 version. Nobody will buy before that. Why? No support, no spare part. Same thing with the client. So please don't think functional UI is great, software is great. No, those are the secondary things. These are the primary thing. Okay. Now, whenever we talk about Ariba, we will talk about Ariba solutions. Now, Ariba solutions is divided into upstream and downstream. Yeah, some of you guys will call this thing as strategic sourcing solution, and some of you will basically call it as buying and invoicing. Now, they are the same. Please don't think, oh, strategic sourcing solution upstream, buying and invoicing downstream. Okay. Now, first and foremost thing, when you're going into Ariba and you're, understanding about the solution, you need to understand that what architecture has been used before. All of you will say, Manoj, why you're talking about the architecture? What's the reason you're talking about architecture? The architecture is very simple, guys. Upstream and downstream is having separate databases. Now, this is not common knowledge. Why? Because only those employees who are working in the Ariba company and within that also engineering department, they will know this thing. Now, I am not working in Ariba engineering department. I'm working in a big four organization. But few of my friends work over there. From them only I came to know. And they also told me that what's the difference between upstream and downstream? Upstream and downstream is having separate databases. Separate databases means what? Just like one computer to another computer. If you're having a separate computer, can you send the data immediately like normal? Just like you share the data between one drive to another drive of your computer? The answer is no. You will need internet, network to send a file from one system to another system. Same thing over here. Upstream is having a separate database, downstream is having a separate database. That you should understand. In today's demo only you will understand that why I was telling there are two separate databases. Okay, so let us go into upstream. Excuse me. So in upstream solution, the first and foremost thing which you will be seeing is sourcing module. Now sourcing means what? RFQ. That means request for proposal, request for information, these are the things. All of you will say yes. So what does it actually means? It means finding the best source of solution. Oh, sorry, best source of best source of supply. Very good. Now, now when we will go over here, majority of you will say, Manoj, yes, that is what we do in sourcing, finding the best source of supply. That means, okay, this product I will buy from the supplier who is giving me a very good quality and what? At a very good price. Very good, Manoj. But what kind of products I can have in RFQ? This is a tricky question. This is a very tricky question. Huh? Why? Why is it so much? Why this is a tricky question? Because remember, when you are going into when you are going into SRM, remember one thing. And what is that one thing? That what kind of product you can add? You can say, Manoj, I can add free text item. Free text means you will define the item. Very good. Can you add any materials and services? Yes, Manoj, I can do that. Same thing we can also do it in Ariba. No, you cannot do that. Why? Because two different databases. Now, free text items. What does it actually means? Free text item actually means, in our Ariba terminology, non-catalog items. Okay, so free text item matlab non-catalog items. Yes. Now, acha Manoj, what about the pre-existing materials and services? So in Ariba, we don't have it. Now some of you are going to again say, Arey Manoj, why you're saying wrong? We can have item master, right? That means material master also we can bring. The thing is like, guys, first and foremost thing, all of you should be very, very clear on one part. Excuse me. Yes, you can bring it. Now, for example, I'm in Delhi. I want to go to Mumbai to attend a meeting. Okay, tomorrow. What I will do? Will I take a Rajdhani train? Will I go by car? Or will I take a flight? Which one? Now, all of you are thinking, yes, Manoj, tomorrow you have to go. No brainer. Take a flight. Take a flight. You want to go by road, you will reach maybe on Tuesday. Because after, driving your car for 9 to 10 hours, it will heat up. You have to basically stop it, rest it for 1 hour maybe. You also cannot drive on for 24 hours, right? You have to take break in between. Okay, so car is ruled out. Very good. What about train? So we will have train at 4 p.m. today. It will reach when? Maybe at 11 a.m. or 12 a.m. Sorry, 12 p.m. But we are having the meeting at 10 o'clock in the morning tomorrow. So Manoj, I think train won't work. Flight? Yes, it will work. Take a flight today. Even if I reach at 11:30 p.m. or 12 o'clock in the night also, not an issue. Tomorrow morning I will wake up. Immediately I will go to the office and have a meeting in Mumbai. Why? See, if you would have asked me this question, you know, 30 years ago, when obviously I was a kid, okay, then at that point of time, taking flight would have been very, very costly. You would have told, alright, boss, no, 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 not on Monday, maybe on Wednesday. Or if you want to keep the meeting on Monday, then I will do the journey on Friday only. By Saturday, I will reach, Sunday, I will stay in the hotel, Monday, then I will attend the meeting. But right now, we are having much more better solution. That is why we are migrated to flight. Same thing over here. So yes, item master is available. Materials and services, you can bring it from your S4 or your ECC to that of Ariba. But why you will do the same thing? Ariba is advanced software. So that is where Ariba solutions comes into picture, and that particular solution is called as what? Catalogs. And we call them as catalog items. Okay. So that means now, what do you mean by this terminology? Pre-existing product and service. अरे मनोज मतलब क्या है? Pre-existing products and services. They are in materials and services only. Now, Ariba gives you a very good option of catalogs. Why? You can upload image. You can capture more information about the product, about the services. So your end user will get much more information about the product. They can see the picture. Oh, very good. Oh, I know which product to buy. So when you're migrating from a legacy system to that of a specialized system, these are the featured functionality addition which this new age software gives. So you just should not basically say I have used the material master, same thing I will do it in Ariba. Your end user will say, hey, same information in MM, same information in Ariba. I cannot see more information. I cannot see a picture. Why I will use it? Your client will say, boss, you have to use it. Higher management of the client will say you have to use it to their end user. There is no other option. But my point is, why you will implement Ariba with or from the point of view of SRM or MM, implement Ariba with respect to Ariba. Exactly. So that means pre-existing products and services are nothing but the materials and services, which we will create as a catalog items. Very good. Now we should understand what is upstream, what is downstream. Huh? Yes. So what is upstream? So since this is free text item, non-catalog item, that means what? Will you know from which supplier and which buyer, which supplier and what price you will buy it? You have never buy this product before because this is a free text item. So in upstream, you will find and finalize the best source of supply. Excuse me. For non-catalog items. Okay, very good. What about in downstream? Here we will do mainly operational procurement, which means what? Now you understand what is the meaning of upstream and downstream? See, if you can basically understand that upstream and downstream is a separate database, you will have no issues in understanding that upstream means what. Non-catalog item means free text item because we have never bought a free text item before. So we have to know the price, we have to know the supplier at least. Without that, will you go to the purchase equation level? Now some of you will say, yes, Manoj, we can add free text item in the PR. Yes, that is urgent procurement. Out of 100% of your procurement, you can have 5 to 6% of your procurement or maximum 10% of your procurement as urgent procurement. And that too with special approval. 90% of your procurement, your client will basically say, ki boss, don't allow. Don't allow. Otherwise, what will happen? I'm having MacBook from Apple. I'm having Acer laptop. I'm having HP laptop. I'm having Dell laptop. Nobody will order any laptop apart from MacBook. Everybody would like to have a MacBook. Why? Because it's a social status. Everybody wants to basically use the best product. So they will use that. But according to your client's policy, only the higher management of your client will use MacBook. Everybody else, Dell, HP, Lenovo. So if they can't get access to that particular product, what they will do, they will basically create a free text item. There basically will say, oh, MacBook Pro 16 inch with all the upgrade, 4 terabyte of hard disk, with a new graphics card. Okay. Uh, uh, 32 GB RAM. And then what will happen? $5,000. The bill will come 5,000 to $5,500 for that laptop. Yeah. And they will basically write like this. They will add the Apple supplier and they will order it. So that is why I'm not talking about urgent procurement. Normal procurement, which is 95%, 90 to 95% of the thing which you have to implement, you just cannot allow a supplier to create a PR with non-catalog item. Your client will always say, boss, you want to buy non-catalog item? Not an issue. You want to buy non-catalog / free text item? Not an issue. Please do it. But first do a sourcing. Call different suppliers. Let the supplier give the bid. Then you decide, okay, based on the quality and the price, which one is the best supplier. Once you do that, you finalize that deal with the supplier with the help of a contract. Once you do that thing, this contract you can use to create a PR. Why? Because let's say, for example, you have signed a contract with the supplier for $5 million for the next 5 years. So your end user will start using the contract by creating PR against that contract. That is the process. That is the process. So that means the process will always start from upstream. Lot of Ariba functional consultant, whenever they come to a project where both upstream and downstream is there, all of the projects are having upstream plus downstream. Excuse me. All means 90 to 95%. 5% will be a little bit different. Now, Ariba consultant generally asks me, Manoj, why? Why we will begin with upstream? Why not we cannot go into downstream? Then I will say, first and foremost thing, tell me what you are procuring, non-catalog item or catalog item. If it is non-catalog item, you have to begin with upstream. Why? Because you don't have a source of supply. You need to find the best source of supply and finalize it. That is what we do in upstream. Now, on the other hand, if you say to me, Are Manoj, pre-existing products and services, catalog item. So then I will say, you come to downstream. Don't go to upstream. So in that case, we are doing operational procurement. That means what? Catalog items or basically the normal materials and services means what? Those are pre-existing in the system. We have bought it before. So we know from which supplier we will buy and what price. Directly we can create a PR. So that is where the best thing is. You don't need to have a PIR. You don't need to have a material master. You don't need to link multiple documents with each other. In catalogs, what will happen? You will have the material or the services, you will have the unit price, you will have the supplier details, you will have the picture. So that means, Manoj, in catalog, whatever things is there, we can directly go and add it in the PR. And all this mandatory information will come from the catalog information regarding the items. Exactly. That is why I will say, don't use item master. I have never used item master in any of my project. And I also don't understand that why other Ariba consultant says I will use it. I don't find any advantage over using that thing. You are having a flight versus train. What you will do? You will prefer to use the flight. Excuse me. Same thing over here. So now, since in your catalog you are already knowing what is the source of supply, what you will do? You will directly go to the PR. Create a PR, submit it for approval. Once it is approved, PO will be created. Now this PO will go to the supplier. Supplier will deliver you the product. Once that delivery happens, you will do the GR. After that, what? payment to the supplier, done. That is what it is happening in downstream. Now, if I go into sourcing and ask which kind of product we will include, now here, please don't say to me, Manoj, catalog item as well as non-catalog item. I am specifically saying कि catalog item boss will be present only in downstream, and in upstream you will have only non-catalog item. So upstream within the sourcing is there. So finding the base source of supply for non-catalog items. See this, you look at this definition. This definition you will not find in any SAP Ariba press book, neither in SAP Ariba guidebook, neither in Learning Hub. Why? Because this is what I understood after working in Ariba for 8 years. So finding the base source of supply for non-catalog items. Very simple thing, but non-catalog item is a very, very important thing. Many Ariba consultant in front of me says to the client, oh, we can add catalog items in sourcing. Are bhaiya, kaise? How? You will have catalog items in downstream. Downstream is a separate database. Upstream is a separate database. How you will bring that data? Yes, Manoj. This is, uh, you know, then later on they will understand. But in front of the client, the damage has been done. So remember, sourcing means finding the base source of supply for non-catalog item. Now, of course, you will have RFI, then RFP. RFI means request for information. RFP means request for proposal. RFP means almost like that of RFQ in ERP. Now, here also there will be subtle distinction which will be coming into the picture. What are those things? When to use RFI? When to use RFP? What happens is I have seen many Ariba consultants going to the project. RFI, always RFI. Client is saying, "Arey boss, why always I will basically begin my process from RFI? What's what's the major reason behind it? Tell me, tell me." So because for doing one RFI it will take 1 week. Sorry, 1 month. For doing another RFP it will take 1.5 months. So for every sourcing project, if I have to do RFI first, then RFP, 2.5 months is gone. Just for one sourcing project. Client will say, I will create 200 to 500, even 1,000 sourcing project every year. Now, how I will do it? How many people I have to basically keep so that they work on these things? Excuse me. So this is the issue. So that is also you have to understand. This we will understand in detail in our next session, because in our next session we will start with sourcing. Exactly. So you have to understand that when to suggest to your client that you use RFI, then RFP, or when you are going to suggest to your client, boss, only RFP. RFI is not required. That you